The attack happened in full view of an audience. There was panic and confusion as Sir Salman Rushdie lay injured on the stage after being stabbed.
The suspect jumped onto the stage and attacked Mr. Rushdie, stabbing him at least once in the neck and at least once in the abdomen. Mr. Rushdie was provided medical treatment by a doctor who was in the audience until EMS arrived on scene. Mr. Rushdie was airlifted to a local trauma center and is still currently undergoing surgery.
Afterwards, eyewitnesses said they were in deep shock.
I was stunned by what I saw. I thought at first it was a stunt or some kind of a play that wasn't funny. And then when I realized what was actually happening, I was just completely taken by surprise. People were rising up out of their seats and gasping, crying and screaming, and this unseen, unheard of thing was happening on stage.
The acclaimed British author Sir Salman Rushdie has sustained serious injuries to his liver and an eye after being stabbed whilst taking to the stage at an arts centre in New York. The 75-year-old is currently on a ventilator and unable to speak. Police have named his attacker as Hadi Matar, a 24-year-old from New Jersey who is currently in custody.
Salman Rushdie has been hospitalized. He's now on a ventilator with damaged liver and severed arm nerves. He may also lose an eyeball. Police have identified the man who allegedly stabbed Rushdie on August 12th as Hadi Matar, 24, of New Jersey. He was arrested at the scene by the troopers providing security for the event. No charges have been filed against Matar yet. Police told reporters they have yet to determine a motive. Really? Yet to determine a motive for the man who has had a bounty on his head for a couple of decades by the former Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, who said he wants this man dead? Really? They still claim that they can't find any kind of a motive behind this? I mean, look at this. This is the 1989 fatwa against Salman Rushdie. Back in February 14th of 1989, Khomeini called for Rushdie to be killed for writing the Satanic Verses, which they claim insulted Islam. So he says Muslims of the world need to rapidly to execute the author and the publishers of this book so that no one will any longer dare to offend the sacred values of Islam. And look what the Associated Press is putting out. They say it remains unclear why Rushdie's attacker, identified by police as Hadi Matar of Fairview, New Jersey, stabbed the author as he prepared to speak at an event on Friday. Iran's theocratic government and its state-run media have assigned no motive to the assault. So he's just a guy from New Jersey who had no motive for this, and it remains unclear why this attacker did what he did. Well, I think you guys will start to see things a little more clearly when you realize that Salman Rushdie's suspect had Shiite extremist sympathies. And there's ties there. According to this report, the suspect in the attack on Salman Rushdie at an event in New York State was sympathetic to Shiite extremism and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to NBC News, cited law enforcement sources saying on August 13th. So it looks pretty clear to me what the motive is for this, and it's clearly an outright attack on the freedom of expression and free speech. And interestingly enough, that's what Justin Trudeau decided to chime in with. He said the cowardly attack on Salman Rushdie is a strike on the freedom of expression that our world relies on. No one should be threatened or harmed on the basis of what they have written. I'm wishing him a speedy recovery, to which I had to quote with the retweet here saying, where is it? What did I say? Oh, the hypocrisy. Right here. Oh, the hypocrisy with this one. Because, I mean, look, this is coming from the man who, outright discriminated against the Freedom Convoy truckers and called them all misogynist and racist. But even more importantly, this is the guy who was popularizing the idea that Islamophobia needs to be done away with here in Canada as far back as 5 or 6 years ago with the introduction of Motion M103, which called for the end to Islamophobia. And back then he was essentially saying that our very language is violent. The man who considers our speech and language to be violent is now saying that this is a direct strike on the freedom of expression. No one should be threatened or harmed on the basis of what they have written. Unbelievable hypocrisy coming from Justin Trudeau. What else are some other people saying? Well, Joe Rogan just recently shared this Salman Rushdie quote: "The moment you declare a set of ideas to be immune from criticism, satire, derision, or contempt, freedom of thought becomes impossible." It's a good quote, and interestingly enough, he shared this as a repost from Meghan Murphy. This is something that she originally posted, and of course she is heavily censored on Twitter because of her views, and very similar to how Salman Rushdie said, I highly doubt that any of the these people in Iran who have an issue with what I'm saying have actually read the book. They seem to be just taking little sound bites out of context, because if they actually read it, they would know that I'm not being blasphemous or sacrilegious at all. Well, interestingly enough, Meghan Murphy, who was just quoted here by Joe Rogan, said the same thing when I interviewed her in this video titled "Meghan Murphy on Free Speech versus the Shut It Down Cultural Phenomenon." And just listen to what she had to say about this important topic, because it's very timely today.
Why do you think there's so much of a drawback to what you're saying when I can't find anything hateful in what you're actually saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It baffles me too. I think that the main problem is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So people talk to each other about me or about, other women making these arguments, and they don't talk with us. They don't engage in the conversation. So, the things that I hear from the protesters or the things that are written on the signs have no bearing on what I'm saying. They've sort of turned me into this monstrous figure. And I really, truly believe that if they just had a conversation with me, they'd probably agree with most things that I'm saying. I'm certainly...
It's very similar to what we're seeing with Salman Rushdie. They've made him out to be this monster, but if they actually looked beyond the title of his book and looked into what he was doing, they would realize that murder is certainly not the answer. I wanted to show you this because it all ties into what we're talking about today in terms of Meghan Murphy's issue and what's going on with the censorship of Salman Rushdie. But look at this. Women have been suspended from Twitter for so-called hateful conduct for asking why a man was allowed to compete. Okay, so this is a transgender woman, in other words, a biological man who's over the age of 30. And look at this guy. He's playing against 16-year-old biological females, and he's a 30-year-old biological man. They start tweeting about his appearance, and Twitter suspends them for that. Talk about a violation of your freedom of expression. Talk about a violation of the freedom of speech, guys. So we're going to talk about all this stuff and much, much more in this video today. But really quickly, if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, I'd ask that you check me out at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. This is like a Patreon alternative since I've recently been kicked off of Patreon. Here you can sign up for $5 a month, $10, $20, $50 a month. Whatever is within your means is greatly appreciated, guys. Please check the links in the description below if you want to find out how you can support my efforts here at Press for Truth. All right, I wanted to start you off with this clip of former singer Cat Stevens saying live on national television that Salman Rushdie should be murdered. Get a load of this.
Sure, it's the right person.
Another participant was the Muslim convert Yusuf Islam, formerly the singer Cat Stevens. He also supported the death sentence on Rushdie. He was asked if he would give him shelter.
Yes, I'd try to phone the Ayatollah Khomeini and tell him exactly where this man is.
Would you go to a demonstration where you knew that an effigy was going to be burnt?
I would have hoped that it'd be the real thing, but actually, no. If it's just an effigy, I don't think I'd be that moved to go there.
Wow. Faye Weldon was also taking part in the programme.
So I do wish the superintendent over there would come over and arrest this man here for inciting on television people to violence, implicitly and otherwise. It seems extraordinary. he looked confused because it was a television program, and yet you could see that he'd done something terrible. And how dare he? And why was the police not protecting the people and us?
Very, very, bold, for him to come out saying this man should be, publicly executed as, as part of the call from the Ayatollah in Iran. It's just absolutely unreal. I wanted to show you a bit of this. As I said, the bounty on him was 2.8 million put on his head. That was later raised to over 3 million. They claim that he's being blasphemous with the Satanic Verses, but as I said, he says that he most certainly is not. If they actually had read the book, they would see exactly that. They're calling for his hanging, and bad things have happened all along the way. That since he went into hiding, there has been attacks. Like Rushdie gradually emerged from his underground life in '91, but his Japanese translator was killed in July of that year simply for translating the book. His Italian translator was stabbed just a few days later, and a Norwegian publisher was shot 2 years later, although it was never clear that the attacks were in response to Khomeini's call. So this has been going on for quite some time. As we see here, this all comes down to the issue of Islamophobia, where many Muslims were furious when Rushdie was knighted by Queen Elizabeth in 2007 for his service to literature. Iran accuses Britain of Islamophobia, saying its fatwa still stood, and that there were widespread Muslim protests, notably in Pakistan. So as to the issue of Islamophobia, as I was saying earlier, that this is the one thing that Trudeau is grandstanding on. Well, let it be known right here, right now, that hands down, this situation, if you try to discuss the death of Salman Rushdie in terms of an attack on freedom of expression or an issue of free speech, you're going to get those people coming out claiming all this nonsense and this rhetoric that Justin Trudeau himself was originally putting out way back in 5 or 6 years ago, talking about Islamophobia being the biggest issue that Canadians need to deal with, and now here we are. This is just unbelievable. I wanted to show you a little bit of this as well. Where is it? I feel those who did it are trying to isolate Iran. A 39-year-old geography teacher said this is going to negatively affect relations with many, even Russia and China. Khomeini, who was in poor health last year after grinding stalemate in the 1980s, Iran and Iraq was decimated, and the country's economy issued a fatwa on Rushdie in '89. The Islamic edict came amid a violent uproar in the Muslim world over the novel, which some viewed as blasphemously making suggestions about the Prophet Muhammad's life. So apparently that is just something you absolutely cannot do, and if you do, you may potentially face death. I would like to inform all the intrepid Muslims in the world that the author of the book, entitled Satanic Verses, as well as those publishers who are aware of its contents, are hereby sentenced to death. He said. He added, whoever is killed doing this will be regarded as a martyr and will go directly to heaven. So I think it's pretty clear what the motivation for this was. So as it is today, they are saying this young man in New Jersey had no motive, and they do not know why he attacked him, even though it has already been proven that he has Shiite extremist sympathies because some of the things that he was posting on his social media accounts. Unbelievable, guys. But as I said, those of us who point out the hypocrisy in Justin Trudeau's statements, and also the fact that this really is an attack on freedom of expression, freedom of speech, will then be turned around and counterattacked. And who knows, this may very well be used to continue to criticize anybody who dares to speak out against Islam, especially here in a nation that was founded on Christian principles, where things may not necessarily work well with another religion that is at odds with our very Christian standards and values here in the West. So something I wanted to bring to your attention today, guys. Don't let the mainstream media spin this situation into becoming all about Islamophobia again. You know, I'm surprised Justin Trudeau hasn't jumped all over that, but only time will tell. So just wanted to bring all that to your attention today, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, please don't forget to check me out at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth, since I have been kicked off of Patreon. Once again, here you can do $5, $10, $20. Whatever is within your means is greatly appreciated. Once again, links for all of this are going to be located in the description below, whether you happen to be watching this on BitChute or Odyssey or Float or Minds or Rumble or maybe Bastion or maybe even YouTube. Wherever that happens to be, please check the links in the description for all the sources to this video and also to where you can support my efforts here at Press for Truth moving forward. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.